So here we are, we're back to do another handle video. Now I'm pretty sure I've already done a handle video on the wah style handle, but I've made a few adjustments to my process that might help. Anyway, we'll get started with this. Yeah, I know that hole's not perfectly round yet, but it will be. Well, not perfect, but close to it. So I've got this set that I'm doing. You can see it's got some nickel in it here. So these should all be pretty nice when they're done. And then we're gonna do nickel silver bolsters and then red G10 from our pals over at Alpha Knife Supply. These guys do a really good job with their G10 and they've got tons of options. So if you're looking for G10, give them a look-see. So I've also got a couple new tools that I've been working on. So this was an aluminum version, which I'll still be able to use this, but basically what this is for is to get my tang perpendicular to my shoulders. So what I do is I've got this cut out that I did on the mill, and I cut this slot, and then I cut 90 degrees there so I can take my shoulders and put them right against here, and then I can see if this tang is 90 degrees. So as you can see here, it's just a little bit high, so I'll probably take a little bit off of there just to get it nice and straight. Actually, I don't have this centered, so actually, no, now that I centered it down here, it's actually perfect. So that's that, but I made another iteration of it, and this one's out of steel. And basically what this is for is when it does kind of the same thing, but if you've seen a few of my other videos, you know that when I do my my wah style handles or my hidden tangs, I cut a little notch out here and then I braze in a threaded rod. So what this will do is I'll be able to tell where I need to cut my notch, and I'll be able to clamp this down here, and then I can use this side to put my threaded rod in here and clamp it down. So when I do the brazing, everything's locked down to where it needs to be, and then I can maneuver this thing, flip it around and braze the other side and all that. So I haven't used this yet, but I think it's going to be pretty amazing. So we'll give that a shot in this video. So this video, I'm not going to actually do the shaping of the handle, but if you want a second video, let me know down in the comments and we'll make a second video of me shaping. But this is mainly just to show you how I get my handle pieces prepped so that everything's centered for the knife, so that everything lines up the way it should be. Before I get started in the video, I wanted to mention a couple things. So if you come to this channel, I'd really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. It really helps the channel. Commenting, whether it's a nice comment or a horrible comment, I kind of don't care. I mean, of course, I like the nice comments, but any comment, whatever you feel like writing, is going to help, bring traffic. I'd like to be able to do more videos, but because I don't really make hardly anything on these videos, I can't just quit my job and then do this. But I mean, I don't even know if I'm helping enough people, but hopefully I'm helping a few people, find better ways of doing things. Even if it's not my way, something could trigger an idea and you could come up with a better idea of your own. It's kind of what I'm after. So the other thing is, if you don't know, I have the memberships set up. So if you have the means and you feel like going a step further to help support the channel, by all means, become a member. I think it's really cheap. I don't have a lot of benefits set up yet, but I have to do some looking in on this. I have to do a little research, but my idea is to have basically like a giveaway a month. I know you can do giveaways on YouTube, but I don't know, like you can't have gambling and stuff like that. So my idea was to have, if you have a membership, basically depending on the tier of membership, you'll get entries into a giveaway. So if you're like the basic tier, you'll get 1 entry to a giveaway a month. If you're the next tier up, you'll get 2 entries into the giveaway. But anyway, what I would do is I would build a knife a month, and then that knife would be given away as an award to my members. So I would love to be able to do that, but I don't know all the laws behind it. Living in Utah, we have no lottery here, so we haven't quite figured out a good way to support our economy like the lottery. But anyway, that's my idea. I'll let you know how it goes. But like I said, I need to do some research on it because it has to be legal. I want to be able to keep my YouTube channel because I really love making these videos and I really love helping people. So let me know what you think. If you have some ideas that don't require a ton of research for the membership tiers, let me know. I'd be happy to consider anything like that. Also, if you have any ideas for videos, something that you would like me to do, a specific build, or tips and tricks, shop tools, anything like that, just let me know. Just make a comment down below and we'll get that one figured out as well. So anyway, enough chatting. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get this nickel silver cut into 1-inch lengths so that I can fit them onto the bolsters of each of the knives. And then after that, I need to cut up this block into 1-inch widths. And so this block is like 5 1/8, but with the nickel silver, we are at like 5 1/2, slightly over 5 1/2, which is the length that I want for my handles. So let's get that stuff going, and enough talk. Let's head over here and get some stuff cut up. All right, this isn't the most ideal saw to use, but I just purchased a new blade, so if I destroy the blade here, I have a new one. All right, I got all these cut finally. Kind of a pain in the butt, but they're done. So next step would be to just go clean these up just a little bit. You see they got some burrs on them and stuff. So got to clean those up, and then we'll take them over to the mill and get them squared up and get a slot cut in these. And then same with the G10. I just got to square it up. And then I wrote on here all the sizes ended up being different just because I was having a bugger of a time cutting them. And so the one that isn't quite the size for the larger things, it's going to be a paring knife. And then, of course, the cleaver is going to have the biggest handle, so I found the one that will allow me to get the biggest size. So the cleaver is going to be a little over 1 inch, and we're going to be octagonal. And then the rest of them, excluding the paring knife and probably the mini bunka. The mini bunka might still be the same size because it kind of gets held the same way, but the paring definitely doesn't get held the same way. So paring smaller. These three are going to be about 15/16 of an inch. And the cleaver is going to be a little over an inch. I'm not quite sure on this one yet, but I think we're going to be around 3/4 of an inch to 5/8 of an inch. We'll see what happens. So we get these cleaned up, and then next stop is the milling machine. So the first one I'm going to do is the bolster for the cleaver, and it's going to be a little thicker than the rest. I'm at about 0.14 right now, and then what I'm going to do is just do a slot at about a 1/8 or so, and then we'll probably just smash it on there just to widen it up. And then the other ones, they're a little thinner than 3/32, so I'm probably going to have to cut. The smallest slot I have is a 3/32, so I'm probably going to have to cut the 3/32 and then smash the slot down around the tang. Should be fine, should look just perfect when I'm done with it. We'll get that all figured out then. But right now, I'm just going to pop this in here. Things are a little dirty over here right now. I made a big old mess over here not too long ago, and I haven't quite cleaned it up yet. So that's where we are. So get this locked down. I know we've got the people saying, oh, you got to tap that in and all that crap. There you go. Not really tapped in, but I don't need to be that exact. So I'm just going to guess about where we need to be, and I'm going to drill a hole first so that the end mill doesn't have to work so hard to dig through. So I've got a line, a center line drawn on here, and then I've got my 2 marks where the shoulders of the tang are, so I know where to start and stop. So we're just going to go through and we're going to drill a few holes, and then we'll come back with the end mill and go from there. So I'm just trying to get this centered up. Get a little more light on here. There we go. So I'm just trying to get this centered up on my line, or pretty close. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to take some off the right and left side. So that's going to be pretty much where I need to be centered wise. And so once I have this centered, then the rest of them should actually, we're going to move that back just a little bit more. Anyway, the rest of them should be in the exact same place. So we're going to come over here, kick this guy on, put my cat back on here. And then I don't think I have a sharp bit on here. So let's swap this bit out. There, that feels better. Feels much better. There we go. There's a hole there. And I guess we could drill a few more holes. Probably make life a little bit easier as well. Actually, we're not going to do that. We're just going to drill the one hole and then call it good. We'll do the end mill from there, because this bit's wanting to wander a little bit. So that's going to make a mess of things. So let's get our end mill on here. Call it's in. The 1/8 bit is in, or 1/8 end mill. Now, let's get this guy running through here. And if anybody would like to make fun of my machining, have at it. I am not a machinist. I just know enough to get by. All right, so here's the first one done. You can see the slot. It's pretty decent. Not perfect, but like I said, we're gonna have to stretch this out. If it won't stretch, then we'll just take a file to it, clean it up a little bit. If I was better with the mill, or if my DRO was working. So I don't recommend getting these stupid digital DROs that come with this, or that you can get extra with these little machine shop mini mills, because the first one, like, they send just a cheap little like crap tablet, little Android tablet, and the first one I had froze up, and to their credit, they did send me a new one, but now this new one, just I can't get it to connect, so here I am. Anyway, there's the first one, and I'm gonna get the other 4 milled, get the slots in there, and then we'll go from there. So I just want to show you where we're at here. So I've got all these bolsters cut, all the slots cut, and you can see they're a good fit, except, like I was saying, they are a little bit loose, you can see. So what I'm gonna have to do is pop them on the anvil and then kind of smash them this way to get that gap to close up just a little bit. And I'll have to do that on the bunka, the mini bunka, the pairing, or what I like to call the micro bunka, because as you can see, I kind of made them all look similar. Anyway, and then the gluten slayer, or the bread knife, but on the cleaver, it's a nice press fit. So it's not perfectly on there yet, so a little bit of material did gather up, so I need to flatten the top again and then smash it back on, and then it's going to be a nice perfect fit. So from this point, now that I've got all these on there, I've got to take the handle material, the G10, and I'm going to square it up on the mill to get all 4 sides square. It's going to be a little bit of a mess because the cuts really aren't square. I don't have any square sides except for the little factory edges on here, but that's not going to do me any good when I'm trying to square everything up. There's probably ways of doing it that machinists know, but I'm just going to have to wing it. So anyway, now back over to the mill to get these squared up. So here we are. I've been trying to get this trash DRO connected to this machine for the last hour, but it's not happening, so we're just gonna have to do this by the gauges, I guess. So I've got the I'm gonna do the cleaver first, because I'm gonna try to keep this as thick as possible. And basically what I did was I mounted this down on the flat sides, dropped my surface mill down until it touched, and then I kind of put a stop back here. So I'll know when I flip it this way where I need to stop to keep this perfectly square. So I'm going to do that on this one just to get it square. And then I'm going to do my other ones slightly smaller because I want the other ones down to, 15/16. And then we'll move to the next step from there. So I need, because my cuts were so off, I need to try to find the edge that's the straightest, the most square to this. If they're really off, then what I'll do is square this up and then take an end mill and square this to that, if that makes sense. So let me get a little bit of light over here and then we'll get going on this. So this side's definitely the squarest. So we're gonna pop these in here and snug this guy down. Then make sure we're centered on this. This should be just a little over the width of this block. So lock that down, and then basically I'm just gonna mill this until we've got all the nasties out of it, and then I'll flip it over, and that's when I'll take it to the width, so that way we've got a nice square. Almost forgot my glasses. Gotta have the safety glasses. Well, this may not be good. So this may not be the best block for the cleaver because we're not quite wide enough. So I had to cut a new piece, and as you can tell, boy, I've got to do some, I think I've just got to get a new blade. So I did this on the bandsaw, the metal bandsaw, the Portaband, and this is basically what I got. Because I went from this way, it started curving in, so I went from this way and I met, and it looks like this. And then I ruined my wood bandsaw by cutting this, so now it just wants to drag a certain direction. Anyway, I cut a new piece, we should be good. We'll see what happens. Hopefully this is large enough this time. So, here we go. Attempt number 2. And I'm gonna run it all the way over to this other end. I really need to get an auto feed. Makes life a little easier, I think. All right, so we're not gonna hit anything there. So running it back. One of the things I like about G10 is it cuts really easily. So for the auto feed, I did put a bit on my drill that fit like the end, my wheel over here. And it worked really well until it pulled the bolt off, and then it didn't work so well. So I quit doing it that way. So I just need to run this back and forth until I get a nice square. And we're pretty close. Actually, I could probably take more material off than this. But my big concern is that as soon as I get this flat and flip it over, I've still got enough material that what am I trying to say? That I have enough to remove all the bad parts on the other side and still keep it square. Still got about 1/8 of an inch. So I think we're gonna be good. And I don't have to get rid of this chunk over here because that's gonna be taken down to an angle anyway. But if I can, I'd like to have that gone. And I'm sure this is exactly what you want to watch. Yeah, one of the things I don't get is, so for the auto feed for this mill, it's like 500 bucks. But if you get a Precision Matthews, their auto feed is only like 250 or 300. I can't remember. Kind of odd. Yeah, I think we're good there. We still have that little chunk, but I'm okay with that because we still have a nice flat surface. Okay, now I'm gonna flip this guy over. And here we're bottomed out. This will make it perfectly square and we're catching just enough. And we are good. Bloop, just like that. Pop it out of there. There we go. So now we should be perfectly square. All sides are nice and flat. So I just need to do this to the other 4 or 3, however many I have, and then we'll drill some holes. So I got all these dirty little rascals squared up, nice and neat. So as you can see, we got the cleaver down here, which is a little larger. We're at like a little over an inch, 15 16ths, 15 16ths, 15 16ths, and then I took this one down to 3/4, a little over 3/4, just to allow for some sanding and stuff, just to get it down to the right size. So I got a couple next steps. The first one is I'm going to go through and just smash these down so that I can get rid of the sloppy fit. And this one I already smashed down. I just, instead of hammering on it, I mean, I have a press, so I just stuck it in the press and gave it a little smash and it's on there. Slightly, I mean, it's snug, but it's enough to be able to wiggle it off. So I'm going to do that with the other 3. So the cleaver one is already, has a tight fit. And then I just have to clean these up just a hair so I can get the fit up. Then on these, what I need to do is these have to be set up on end. And then I have to take a straight edge from corner to corner and then draw a line like so. This isn't going to be perfect because I can't really get my head right down in there to see. But just for video purposes, I'm going to do a quick little scribe on here. And they're close, but not quite centered where they need to be. So I need to do that on this end. And then on this end. And there's probably a better way to do this too. Probably some tool that gets you right in the corner. I don't know. whatever it is, I don't have it. Or maybe I have it and I don't know how to use it. So if anybody has a trick or a tip here, go ahead and spill it down in the comments. I'm sure people would appreciate it. But we're really close there. So after I mark this, then I need to take the knife that this is going to fit on, and I have to set it on here like this, and then make a mark for the depth of the tang. So how far I need to drill my hole in. So I always go like about a 1/4 inch or so, 1/2 inch, whatever, past, because you can always fill this in with the dowel or whatever. It's always nice to have some extra space for the dowel. So you go 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch deeper than it needs to be. And so you'll drill the 3/8 on this side, and then you'll come back to this side and you'll drill your step bolt. And this is how I do it. So if you don't want to drill all the way through, then you just stop. Because, I mean, kitchen knives, you don't necessarily need a pin to hold them in there. The cleaver, maybe, because if you're going to be smashing chickens or whatever, then you probably want a better connection. But chef's knives and stuff, you're not, I mean, if you're smacking stuff with a chef's knife, you need to go back to chef knife using school. Anyway, so mark your centers, all that stuff. And then you're going to get your center punch like so. And this one is pretty close, so I'm going to mark this center. And that was not quite where we needed to go. So let me give a couple more little jabs. There we go. So we're center right there. And then this one's off a little bit that way, so I need to pull that up. All right, so I can find the center on here without having to redo it. Again, this is so much easier if I can stuff my face down all close to the work, but I'm trying to demonstrate a point. Anyway, so this guy's ready to drill. So let's go over and I'll show you how I smash these down, and then we'll go even farther over and I'll show you how I drill my holes. So over at the press, so this is my 12-ton press, so I don't have a lot to worry about, but if you had like a 25-ton or 40 or 60-ton, you know, be really careful. So basically, you know, keep your fingers out of here while you're doing this. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. But just slap this in the middle, kind of hold it down where it needs to go. Turn it on. I mean, you can see how loose that is. It's pretty horrible. Try to keep it as close to the shoulders as you can. About like that. And just, okay, so now that it's where it needs to be, now I can kind of push it until I feel it. Or, sorry, now that it's held down in here, I can push a little bit and make sure the shoulders are butted up against there. And then just give it a squeeze. You know, not too much. Pull it off. You know, we're still kind of loose. So we're gonna squeeze this guy again just to hold it. Push that again. Give it another little squeeze. Not quite. We're getting there. Just trying not to, I don't know if I'm gonna do anything, but do anything to it. I doubt it. Okay, now we're on there pretty snug. So it's still coming off a little bit, but I think we're good. Yeah, we're on there snug now. So anyway, now we have a good fit. So basically, I just need to pop these back off of here, and I'm gonna put these on the mill and give them a quick brush on the top and bottom. Just to make sure everything's perfectly flat, so when I fit my G10 up on here, then I've got a nice finished fit basically. All right, here's the next step. So the key to this step is actually this little jig that I made. I've got a video of the making of this. I'll link it up here if you want to watch it. But basically what this does is I have a little point right here. I've got a slot, I've got an 1/8 inch, I've got a 3/8, I've got a 3/16 or a 5/16 and a 3/16. I think those measurements might be wrong, but anyway, so what I do, and then I have some switchable magnets on here, and then what I do is I pop this down on here like this, and because I'm going to do my initial hole, I need a pilot, which is basically going to fit right on this little screw tip, and you can't really tell, but it's locked in there, right? And then I need to take this, and I need to, oops, let me lengthen this a little bit just so I can get these to touch. But what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll move this down here, and I'm going to adjust this until the 2 points meet, just like that. And then once the points meet, I'm going to take and I'm going to lock these switchable magnets down. So now I have a point that when I slap this guy on here, I take my little marker point that I've put down here, and then it'll fit right on that pilot. And then when I push my bit down and put it right in with my other marker, then this is going to go perfectly straight down through the middle of this block. So what I need to do is I need to set this depth. I'm really hoping I have this drop down far enough. If not, I'll have to make a few adjustments. But drop this down a hair, lock that bit into place. There we go. So now I need to bring this down, and I'm going to drill down to this hole that I made. So I just need to set my stop so that I stop right there. Or, I mean, you can go a little bit past if you want, because we remember we went like 1/4 to 1/2 inch past. So now that that's set, we have our depth gauge set, we have this lined up, these 2 points lined up here. So now all we got to do is slap this up back on here. And if you have a holder, if you want to use a holder of some sort, do that. I just hold it with my hand. Just make sure not to wear gloves, because if this bit snags your glove, it's going to pull your hand right into there and it's going to do some damage. I made this mistake a little while ago. Luckily, I was using an 1/8 inch bit, and I was able just to snap the bit off, and it didn't do any damage except ruin my glove. So with all this in place, kick this on, and we get these two lined up, and then we just kind of slowly get going. I like to make a little hole and then just check it, you know, just to make sure that it stayed center. And then also I like using the brad point on the G10 because it tends to do a really good job of not wandering. And then also I'm using a 3/8 inch bit because I'm going to use a 3/8 inch dowel to finish the hole up around the tang. And I don't know about you, but I really like working with G10. It's not the most beautiful, elegant material to look at, but it's super strong and it's super easy to work with. And it just makes my life as a knife maker much easier. Got about another 1.5 inches to go. And boom, right there. Okay. So now we've got a hole drilled right down the middle, perfectly centered. So if you are planning on not having a connecting bolt on the back, like I do, then you're done for this part. We still have to cut our little grooves up here to fit the width of the knife. But in my case, because I go all the way through and I cinch it down with a bolt, the next step is to get your shoulder, ooh, that's a warm bit. Get your shoulder bit, whatever size you're going to use. I should probably put a new little depth gauge thing on there. Tape is my depth gauge. And then what you need to do is I'm going to pull this off of here and put the clippings in the trash. And now what I've got is I've got this 3/8 inch pin right here. So now I need to line that pin up with my bit. So let me get a little more length on this so I can hit the bottom or close to it. Okay, so I just want to be centered on this or really close to it. So you just got to look at it from the back. Actually, be able to do a little more. Make sure it's, yeah. So there we go. Now we're a little closer. So we got that centered that way, centered that way. Okay, so now I've got the tip of this bit centered on my pin. So I'm gonna lock this down. So we're all lined up and locked down. So I'm gonna put this bit up and lock it down in place. And now we take our 3/8 inch hole and we can place it over our 3/8 inch pin and pop this down on here like so. Kick this on and then get this lined up right in the middle. And then start drilling this part. And then you just got to go down to whatever your depth is. Yeah, we should be good there. There we go. And then, of course, we have to, I usually put a 1/4 inch bit on the end of this guy. And then the 1/4 inch will finish our hole, connect the hole. There we go. Holes are connected. I use 1/4 inch. That step bit or shoulder bit is a little, so it's smaller. The inside bit is smaller than a 1/4, but I do have some Corby bolts that the smaller side is a little larger than what that bit is. So I just do a 1/4 and then make it so it slips down in there easier, and then I still have enough shoulder that I can lock everything down. So anyway, that is how that part's done. So this is complete, and the next step is just to cut in our little tenons, I guess, so that we can slide the tang in there, because the tang is wider than this hole, so it won't fit in until we create the little tenons. And we'll do that really quick over here at the vise. So as you can see, I mean, this is the cleaver, so this is quite a bit wider. The other ones are more narrow, so we don't have to cut as much out. But as you can see, there's no way that's fitting in there. So I just use my my brooch and just start cutting away. And this is a brooch that I made. It's been a while since I've made this, and I could probably think of a better way to do it, but it is made so essentially I didn't want to pay another $30 for a cheap flimsy one that I mean, Black Dragon Forge or whatever his name is, he makes them and they work well, but they just kind of, I don't know, they're not very versatile, I guess. But I made this one so that I could just change this blade out. So if I wanted one that I could do metal with or whatever, I can just swap it out. If I want one that's longer, I've got it. If I want one that's shorter, I've got it. Anyway, I can also put a link for this up here if you want to see how I made it. Like I said, it was a while ago, and I probably have better ways I could do it now, but either way, this one still works really well. So you just have to make sure. So basically when I do this, I'm just starting in the middle and kind of feeling where the apex of that circle is and just pulling straight up. And then once I get a groove going, then I can tip it and widen it a little bit. This is also a thing that if you have wood or a material that burns, I know watching Forged in Fire, they talk about how much they don't like people to burn stuff through, but honestly, it's a fantastic way to get your material in there quick. I mean, it's how the Japanese did it back in the day, so, and I think they still do it in some factories, but those guys kind of have their stuff figured out. That's why Japanese knives are so amazing. So anyway, just keep at this. That may not be wide enough yet, but you know, it goes in now. So we just have to work at this a little bit and get this dug out. Like I said, this is going to be the hardest one just because it's such a thick tang and wide tang. But just make sure you're straight up and down. I mean, usually I'm oversized on the material so I can make sure I get things straightened up. But I'm not very oversized on this, so I don't have a lot of material to work with. All right, we're getting there. But anyway, you get the picture. You don't have to sit here and watch me do this, but you know, it's getting in there. It just takes a little bit of work to get this dug out enough that this is going to slide all the way in there, and then you're good to go. Here we are. Handles are on here. You can see this one's pretty good. This little paring knife actually didn't have to cut any slots because it fit in there just perfectly without them. This guy got the slots, fits in perfectly. Anyway, so they're all attached. So I realized with this set, I don't need to do the dowel trick where you cut a 3/8 inch dowel, you put a slot in it to accommodate the tang, you pop it in here, you glue it up, you put this in here to get everything all centered and pretty, and then you pull it back out, and then you have a nice slotted tang. So I don't need to do that with this set because I only do that when I have multiple pieces on for the handle material so that I have a piece inside that holds everything together. With this one, there's really no need for that. I'm going to be shaping the bolster separately from the handle, so it's all going to go together as separate pieces, and then I'll basically glue it and bolt it together and we're good to go. So in this case, our next step is to get the threaded rod onto the ends of the tang, and that's where we're going to use this new jig or tool that I came up with. Again, with any other tool that I do, I'm pretty sure that somebody else has already made something similar, but this one I know for sure that I've never seen this anywhere, so I'm taking credit for this. If someone else has seen it somewhere else, then I mean, feel free to mention down in the comments, but hopefully this works as well as I think it will. For the threaded rod, I just use 632. On the majority of my kitchen stuff, that's all that's needed. Really, you're just brazing it on and making it so you can suck everything together, and it creates that added little bit of strength in the handle. So this is perfect. If you want to do 1/4-20, you can. It just takes more work to get this to fit through the slot, because I've already, to get this to fit through the tang slot, I've already got to thin it down. So even using like maybe size 6, that would work too. And at some point I'm going to have to do that because I bought some Corby bolts and they're all that size, so we'll see what happens. So anyway, let's get going on how this tool works and any tang adjustments that I need to make from here. Spoiler alert, I've already checked all of my tangs, and there was one that was off a little bit, and it's this cleaver. So you can see, I'm going to leave this on here just because it makes it a little easier to get a grab on the shoulders. So basically what we've got here is this bolster is on here where it needs to be, and I'm just going to pop this onto here, and I'm going to center the tang in between these two things. And then now that I've got everything snugged up, I'm going to look up top here, and as you can see, that tang down here is pointing a little up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up. So two choices. You can either just grind this down so it comes to the center, which is perfectly acceptable, but with this being a cleaver, I just want to keep some mass back here. There's already a ton of forward weight, so I'm going to keep everything I can. So I'm going to heat this tang up, because really I gotta blue the tangs anyway. So I'm going to heat this up and then put it in the vise and give it a little bend this way, just to pull this right into the middle. So I want to show you really quick something that I've come up with the Corby bolt. So for those who don't know what a Corby bolt is, here you go. So it's these little two-sided bolts that are typically used to secure handle scales, but I've found that they work really well for the through tang, the threaded rod that I do. You put them on the backside and it gives you a nice round finish. So the only problem is it comes in two pieces, and I use this side up, but this side kinda, I don't have a lot to do with it. You know, I've got these extra male sides left, and clearly they can't be threaded onto another male side. So what I've done is I have this 3/4 inch tube, and I cannot remember the wall size. If I remember it, or if I can find it, I'll put it down in the description. But so what I do with this is aluminum. So basically what I can do is I can thread this at an 832, and then basically it's going to fit. I'm going to be able to thread this into here like this, and then the other side will thread into the other end. So it ends up turning this into the female end that I've used all of them. So anyway, this works really well. It's not ideal just because it's extra steps, but it helps me use up this male end that I wouldn't be using otherwise. And then also you can just buy the post screws, which are, I know you've seen them, they come with one end that's just a little screw, and then they have a long post, and then the other end, usually has a slotted head on it. So you can buy those, but it's kind of an expensive way to do it. And they're usually not threaded all the way through. They're only threaded deep enough for that male end to screw into it. So that works if you're in a bind, because this stuff you can't just find anywhere. I mean, maybe locally you can, but here where I am, aluminum tube of a specific size is kind of hard to find. So anyway, there's a little tip if you're using Corby bolts to do this, so you can make the most of your money. Okay, now that I've gotten that little spiel out of the way, so you can see that I blued this right here, and now when I fit that up, it's perfectly right down the middle. So it's there's a little bit more material on this side of the tang than this side, but that's fine. The end still ends up perfectly centered with this. So with this centered, I'm gonna get my tang centered in this little area right here. And then I'm gonna pop this in here like this. There we go. And then now I can actually see, I'm actually gonna pop this over the top of it here. Get that centered, sorta. So now you can see that that's in there where it needs to be. So now I'm gonna make some marks right here. And now what I need to do is I just need to cut this out with either the bandsaw or the angle grinder or whatever I'm gonna do. So for me, I'm just gonna use the angle grinder. So we're good there. Now we have a slot, and I'll pinch that in there, but it's gonna be a nice fit that this will go right into. Okay, so here's where we're in new territory. This will be my first time using this jig, but if you've watched these videos before, you know that I typically lock this down in one vise, and then I lock this down in another vise, and basically it works, but when I have to flip it over to kind of braze a little bit on the bottom side, because I suck at brazing, it heats it up and then this falls out, if this isn't a press fit. Even at that, it's going to heat up the steel and it's going to fall out on its own. So I've come up with this little guy, and basically what it's going to do, it's going to lock this down. Maybe if I can tighten this up just a little bit, it's going to lock this down, like so. So we're locked into place here. You can see we're nice and centered. And then I'm going to take and lock this guy into place just like that. Now everything should be locked in there so that I can braze and just rotate things, hit it from this side to clean up my brazing on both sides. And then when I'm done, everything should be perfectly centered this direction and this direction, and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to lock this right into place here. That should be good. We're good to go there. And then see if we can't get this guy started up. There we go. And we'll just heat this guy up. And again, I suck at brazing, so feel free to comment on how horrible it is, because I'll already know. Okay, so that side's good. Now, see if we just hold on to everything. Typically I have to shut this down. And we'll pop it into here. And I'm not sure if you can see this in the camera, but this side's definitely not brazed too well. Let's see, get that adjusted a little bit. And I'm assuming when you braze things that it's probably supposed to fall through into the backside and braze everything in one nice movement, but this is why I'm not doing videos on brazing. Okay. So I'm thinking that is probably good. So get this out of the vise. So as you can see, it might have moved a little off center. I feel like the threaded rod pushed a little bit toward the back instead of staying centered, but it's still pretty centered this direction. This direction it's perfect. It stayed exactly how I wanted it to. So let me pop this out of here. This has obviously got to cool, but see if we can get a view here so you can see that's in there nice and straight. And then this direction, it moved a little bit, but not so much that it's going to affect anything. So we're good. The jig is a success. From this point, because this threaded rod is thicker than the slot, we have to take this over to the grinder and thin it down this direction. That way when we need to remove the bolster, it can just slide right off, and then we can slide it back on, and then everything is accessible. So these are all brazed up. And they should be nice and centered. So from here, I'm just going to lock these down. And I'm just going to get these on here right now, but before you do any shaping, you have to make sure that everything is straight and centered, the back centered, all that stuff. Before you do any of your lines or anything like that, because if you don't, then when you go to do your final assembly, it's going to be all wonky. And then what you want to do is just make sure on the back to mark an arrow or something to let you know that you have your spine side and your edge side That way when you take things apart and put them back together, you're always taking them apart and putting them back together in the same orientation. And then of course I have this marked as my bread knife, or my gluten slayer, as I affectionately call it. And then once I get these all fitted up, then I'll make sure to put my lines on here. Okie dokie. Alright, so we've got the cleaver fit up, we've got the gluten slayer fit up, we've got the bunka fit up, the mini bunka fit up, and the micro bunka or paring knife. Good to go. So from this point, we're ready to shape, but like I said, that's going to be another video. And so that's it for this guy. So if you have any questions, ask as usual. I always get to the questions. And like I said before, at the beginning of the video, if you have any ideas for membership, something that would make it a little more enticing for you to help support the channel. I know right now it's, there's not much in return, so it makes it hard to want to support. But if there's anything that you can think of that would make it worth it to you to pay, $2.99 a month or something like that, $14.99, whatever my tiers are, please feel free to let me know, and it's something that I can consider, because I do appreciate you being here and watching my videos and commenting and all that stuff. So with all that, we're going to end it. And as usual, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you in the next one.